Okay, so now we will continue with our next presentation, and I would like to announce Mr. Balocco from the company Onsemi. And just to let you know, if you have any questions to the speaker, just ask them after the presentation. Enjoy.
Thank you so much for coming. So let's start this presentation about accurate SIG application simulation result with our physical and scalable model. So I'm Didier Balocco. I'm Power Solution Group EMEA Technical Marketing. And I will present you those results that we obtain with our simulation models. So I will do a brief introduction about what's the difference between our simulation model and why we call them physical and scalable model. Then I will go with some results obtained with those models and cover corner effects, reverse recovery analysis, and internal and external gate voltage. I will also show you how to apply those models in a 1.2 kilowatt solar DC boost and a 6-pack boost active front-end PFC for any charger application. So let's go and introduce me the difference why we call physical and scalable modeling. So if we look at the silicon structure or the silicon carbide structure, we have many parasitic components inside. It's not just a MOSFET. And what we did inside Onsemi is model each of those parasitics inside the SPICE model and taking into account the physical equation of each devices. And in this way, we get one model per technology. We did those models electro-thermal. In this way, when there's a self-heating, or if you have an external heatsink, or you operate at different temperature, you have different performances. We can predict performances also if the part is not available, because we have the technology model, and we can derive any parts. The benefit is that we have very accurate modeling, very consistent, and they are correlated with the reality, with our process. And we think this is the best industry standard for modeling. So this is some basic result that you can obtain with those models. Here you can see that the model is accurate. You see the difference between the straight line that is the simulation and the dot is the measurement. On a linear scale or on a log scale, you see the model still accurate. We can predict the transient with a good prediction of the over voltage at turn-off or the over current at turn-on. The same here, different temperature. The body diode, we all know that in SPICE, diodes are perfect. Here you can see that the threshold or the voltage of the diode change with temperature and change in the right direction, decreasing with the temperature increasing. So all non-linearity are included in those models. So let's go in detail with the result that we can obtain. So let's assume I have a simple bug stage. I have 3 switches here, and those 3 are different. I have a the average VTH, the maximum VTH process, and the minimum VTH process. How they operate together, how the current split together, who turn on first, who turn on last, run the simulation. So I will measure the gate voltage, the inductor current, and this is the result of the simulation. You can see clearly the 3 currents, they are not equally split and not even the same shape. So just to conclude, we have a complete unbalanced current with those 3 threshold difference. And you can see that at turn on and turn off, only one MOSFET, the green one, carry all the current during turn on and turn off, generating extra losses in that particular device compared to the other one. Let's take another example. This is a typical half-bridge configuration that we use in a double pulse tester, for example, but this is also the typical structure that we use for switching. Many times you have an half bridge configuration or a full bridge configuration, and you switch from the top to the bottom, and so on. What we will analyze here is the reverse recovery of the parasitic diode. So if I do the reverse recovery as a function of the DIDT, I can see the change in DIDT, and so the change in reverse recovery. I can do the same, and I can see that if my RG increase, my DIDT decrease, so my reverse recovery decrease, my reverse recovery time increase, my fall time increase, how losses will change with that. I can do the same with temperature, and you see that also here with temperature, the reverse recovery is affected with temperature. And we will take that into account in simulation and extract the real losses. One thing we bring with our model on top of that is that you have access to the real die gate value that you cannot measure externally. You have access to an external gate on the package, but not the one on the die. And with our model, we can access this point here. The same with the internal drain, the internal source. I can look those points now. I don't need a scope or opening the package. I can look inside. So let's run the simulation, and you can see that there's a difference. Here I have a very extra large RG, so the waveforms are quite similar, except that I have some difference and some ringing here that I will explain, going for lowering the external RG. And as you lower the external RG, you see the ringings appearing more and more because my gate network is less and less damp. And then if I look at the difference between the two thresholds, I see that there's always a delay between the external and the internal gate. And this is even more critical when I have a very low RG. Here, I can imagine that my threshold is at 2 volts. Here, my MOSFET is off, while my real one is still on. So here you see the delay. It's almost 40 nanoseconds. So when you are very tight in switching and you want to reduce the losses, if you don't take into account this extra 40 nanoseconds, you will create a shoot-through and increase your losses. So this is another way to see the waveform from different low internal RG on the silicon carbide and high internal RG. Obviously, the high internal RG is more damp, and you see less ringing, and also less difference in terms of threshold and delay. Here, be careful, it's not the same time scale. Even if here it appears the same, the time scale is 2.5 more. So here I cover less ringing with the high internal RG. So let's go with real case, because it's good to have the model for us to play as a semiconductor manufacturer, but at the end what you want to see is the real losses in your real application, and not just losses on paper. So this is a typical boot stage, very common thing. You have the diode, the MOSFET, and the inductor. What I will measure is the output voltage, the inductor current, the power losses in the drain, in the diode, in the gate, the driving losses. I can measure also the temperature, how the temperature behaves inside the MOSFET, and the efficiency. So I made the simulation schematic, I run the simulation schematic, and this is how the simulation goes. You see I have a 4 amp average, 1 amp peak to peak. This is what I have designed for. My voltage is stable at the output. And you see here the temperature effect going up, the efficiency really close to 1, the losses inside the devices. So if I analyze my result, I can see that the silicon diode losses is around 3 watts, the silicon carbide MOSFET 4 watts. I can see that the silicon diode has a higher temperature than the MOSFET. Why that? because they are not the same package. Here, I have a DPAC package, while here I have a TO247. So a bigger package, so a lower temperature increase. The efficiency is around 9.8, 9.9. With a better averaging, I think I can clean this waveform. So let's now go to the final part and go for a 6-back boost front-end AC/DC. So here we have the boost inductor, the 6-pack here with the 6 switches. That will be 6 silicon carbide MOSFET. And we will use our new silicon carbide M3S optimized for switching for the simulation. And the question here is how the third harmonic could affect the losses and how the losses split over the sine wave. So this is my input waveforms, basic sinusoidal input voltage. And then to calculate the losses, it's straightforward. I multiply the drain current with the drain voltage, drain to source, and I apply an average formula over the switching cycle. And I obtain those results. And when you see the different legend, and you see how the losses are split between the 6 switches, and depending on the line angle. What I can note is that the maximum losses here is around 230 watts, while here we are around 160 watts. Now let's use the third harmonic injection and redo the simulation. So I still have my input voltages, and then I get those waveforms. If I measure here, I have less peak power here on the active switch, while I have a little bit more power here on, let's say, the other side switch. But in the end, how about the full losses of the stage? Here we just see that the losses are more balanced between one half cycle and the other half cycle. But if I look at the total losses, this is the losses over a full grid period without third harmonic injection, and I get to 663 watts. And if I do the third harmonic injection, I get almost the same one. So in fact, the third harmonic injection only changed the way the losses are split between the 2 half wave or the 2 half period, but doesn't affect the total losses here. So only the shape of how the losses are varying over the line angle are changed. So to conclude, physical and scalable model contain much more than what we have on the datasheet, and they are much more accurate than other modeling technique. They really take into account the reverse recovery. If you change the gate resistance, you will see the losses changing. If you change the temperature, you will see the losses changing. All those parameters are following let's say, the external environment of your application. All nonlinear effects inherent are included in those models, even the parasitic, like the stray inductance of the package. And you see that also the thermal impedance of the package with the diode and the MOSFET not having the same thermal impedance, they will not get the same temperature increase. Physical and scalable model can be used to extract any value you need that is not in the datasheet. You just run a simple schematic, extracting, for example, the COSS at 300 volts while we give only at 400 volts. This is possible. And you will get the real value. And you don't have to guess what is the value in between and so on. You can get those exact values. You can measure the behavior of the device under various simulation cases. And simulation is more safe than going to the lab and making what I learned at the beginning of my career, what we were calling converter from voltage to smoke. So using simulation, you avoid some smokes. So full performances like junction temperature, losses, reverse recovery, whatever you want as a parameter, even the internal gate to source voltage or the internal drain to source voltage can be obtained by simulation. So if you want to know more about our physical and scalable model and also how to use them, you can go online and check for many application notes that are available. So this is the end of my presentation, and I have listed here all the documentation available on SEMI website for using our model. You can find video, tutorial, application notes, various documents that will help you. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much for your time. I'm on time. Perfect.